Chapter 916, Dual Grandmaster. Who immortal blessed land. The underground cave was shining with blood-red light. The faint blood-red light originated from stalks of blood-colored lingji in the cave. These blood-colored lingji grew freely. They were mutated from ordinary lingji. The original Ji forest was not suitable for Who immortal blessed land. But after the blood poison Carria earthly calamity, Who immortal blessed land gained some blood path down marks. The environment of the entire area changed drastically. It was suitable for the growth of some blood path life forms. Thus, the originally dwindling Ji forest turned into a blood Ji forest. It grew rapidly and became extremely lush. And earlier, Who immortal blessed land had chestnut flowers, poisonous blue degree grass, water chestnut grass, 6 divine grass, 7 colored 7 treasure flowers, and milk tea flowers, and more growing all over it. But they were all wiped out. When comparing the two, one could see how merciless heaven was. There was a feeling of great changes over time. There was some profound meaning behind it. Fang Yuan sat on a giant blood linge at this moment. He was slowly opening his eyes, letting out a breath of cloudy air. Earlier, when he moved about, he used the identity of Xing Xiangzi, as well as vaguely familiar face to disguise his appearance. Right now, in Who immortal blessed land, he was in his base camp. He did not need to use immortal essence to maintain the transformation path killer move. Fang Yuan was in his original zombie form now. He had 8 arms. His face was green, and his eyes were bright red. He was 6 meters tall with protruding fangs. He was shining with a cold glint among the blood-red light. But at this moment, his eyes were shining with a deep light of wisdom. This light was the accumulation of time, the crystallization of time and space. It was moving and formed a stark contrast to his evil and ruthless appearance. Recalling his earlier thoughts, Fang Yuan let out a breath of foggy air. He sighed softly. The gains this time are simply too much. He had to admit this point, because from this exploration of the dream realm, Fang Yuan's star path and wisdom path attainment reached grandmaster level. Star constellation Immortal Venerable's dream realm not only made Fang Yuan's wisdom path attainment level increase, it also raised his star path attainment level. Fang Yuan was very shocked regarding this. Grandmaster attainment level. What did this mean? After accumulating foundation in both his previous life and current life, Fang Yuan only became a grandmaster in blood path and strength path. Among them, blood path grandmaster was because Fang Yuan cultivated blood path mainly in his previous life. It was accumulated through time.as for strength path grandmaster. He had cultivated it on the side in his previous life, while mainly cultivating it this time. Because he had a foundation in his previous life, when he cultivated it this time, with the help of the immortal ascension tribulation, he obtained a chance to learn from heaven and earth. Furthermore, there was He Lu Land's dream realm. With all these reasons, he managed to accumulate sufficient foundation. After exerting so much effort in both lives, using more than 500 years, he only became a grandmaster in 2 paths. But this time, he only explored a dream realm of star constellation Immortal Venerable and spent less than half a month. Yet he was already a wisdom path and star path grandmaster. It was impossible to see his grandmaster attainment level physically, but Fang Yuan knew. His gains were immeasurable. He could even say it was more valuable than Who immortal blessed land. My gains this time will allow me to grow immensely for this period of time. I can even break out of my predicament. Generally speaking, development was the result of accumulation and gradual progress. By growing slowly and steadily, one would achieve success in the end. But fortuitous encounters and windfalls would allow one to experience explosive growth, jumping out of a stale state and saving huge amounts of time, overturning the situation and obtaining an extraordinary achievement. Since rebirth, Fang Yuan had been resolving difficulties. He advanced bravely and had many gains. They were extremely helpful to him, allowing him to find solutions. Liquor worm, spring-autumn cicada, blood skull goo, bone flesh unity goo, all-out effort goo, 3 kings blessed land, Who immortal blessed land, second aperture goo, becoming a strength path goo immortal and gaining inspiration from nature, as well as wisdom goo. Other than these, there were other areas in which he grew and progressed, but they did not overturn his situations. However, After this trip to Starry Sky Grotto Heaven, Fang Yuan had gained a new, shocking harvest. That was his dual Grandmaster attainment level, among which Wisdom Gu was a rank 9 immortal Gu. It had reached an agreement with Fang Yuan, but it was not his. The degree to which he could make use of it was not high. However, attainment levels were something that belonged entirely to the Gu immortal themselves that in Fang Yuan's opinion. Dual Grandmaster attainment level was more valuable than Wisdom Gu itself. Since rebirth, this can be considered another situation where I made immense and shocking gains. Yet this time the process was very easy. It was unthinkably simple. Fang Yuan could feel the mysteries of the twists and turns over life and opportunities from this. He naturally had some guesses. Perhaps this was related to Connect Luck. Speaking of which, ever since he used Connect Luck, Fang Yuan's cultivation journey had become much smoother. The rise of his attainment levels, especially when they rose to Grandmaster attainment level, gave an incredible feeling. He could not describe it. It was as if Fang Yuan had previously been looking out of the window and seeing a large rock formation, filled with crevices and weeds. Now he took a few steps up and could see further and higher. He could now observe part of the rock formation by looking down. He felt that this part of the formation was as tiny as a pebble beneath his feet now. When he looked further ahead, he could see more and understand deeper. Attainment level. This was something very hard to describe. What was attainment level? Even for the developed Gu master cultivation world, everyone had their own explanations for it. There was no unified description. Fang Yuan's soul came from Earth. This difference made him possess a different understanding regarding the phrase attainment level. So-called attainment levels are like mathematics problems. By answering many mathematics questions, one can accumulate experience. When they get the correct answer, they will eventually understand the crux of them, gaining enlightenment and raising their attainment level. With this level of understanding, they can solve other related mathematics questions easily and get the right answer. When they encounter very unfamiliar questions, they can also use their existing knowledge to answer a portion of them. Thus, when Fang Yuan encounters questions in cultivation, because his attainment level rose, he could solve the question to varying degrees. For example, Fang Yuan's use of Wisdom Gu earlier was just superficial. It was a brutish and forced method. Now that he had Wisdom Path Grandmaster attainment level, he gained many inspirations and ideas. He could try to use some supplementary Gu worms to make use of Wisdom Gu more efficiently. Another example was modifying Gu recipes. Back then, Fang Yuan had tried to modify recipes of Memory Thought Gu, Star Thought Gu, and Malicious Thought Gu, but because his Wisdom Path attainment level was low, he kept failing. He encountered impasses and could not advance. Afterwards, he successfully modified Star Thought Gu's recipe, but he was making use of Starlight Immortal Gu. It was not because of his own abilities. Now, Fang Yuan could feel that he could modify these Gu recipes, and they would be even better than before. Going beyond this, Fang Yuan was even confident that he could perfect incomplete inheritances. Like earlier, Fang Yuan had obtained an incomplete Wisdom Path inheritance, Memory Thought Gu, Reminiscence Immortal Gu, and multiple mortal killer moves were included. With his Grandmaster attainment level now, Fang Yuan could deduce this inheritance to a degree, and even restore it.gu recipes could be modified. He could modify killer moves as well. The killer moves myriad self, vaguely familiar face. They were within the range of possible applications. Also battlefield killer moves. Fang Yuan could not find one after so long. But now he had the foundation needed to create one himself. Or for example, the construction of star form blessed land. Earlier, Fang Yuan's plans needed huge amounts of funds. Now, with his Wisdom Path and Star Path attainment levels, he could improve this plan and save an immensely large number of immortal essence stones in construction fees. Furthermore, this new plan would be even more ideal and useful than the previous one. The raising of hairy men, his 8 sources of revenue, the use of Gu immortal souls, the claiming of Gu Pai blessed land. There were many things he could do. The rise of attainment levels was quite special to in conclusion. When attainment levels rise, the person experiences growth in all aspects. The Gu Master's cultivation journey would be refreshed. There would be great prospects. Their strength would rise up as well. Time passed quickly in terms of the 5 regions' time. Half a month passed. 2 wills were intertwined, battling intensely. Fang Yuan's will had the complete advantage. He was suppressing Mo Yao's will. Fang Yuan's will's advantage continued to grow. He could almost toy with Mo Yao's will easily now. How can this be? How can your capabilities rise by so much? Mo Yao's will screamed in shocked anger. Before this, Fang Yuan had been using a similar amount of will to fight with Mo Yao's will. They were at best evenly matched. He was even at a disadvantage. But now, Fang Yuan's wisdom path attainment level had reached Grandmaster level. He only used 1/3 of the will to defeat Mo Yao's will till she screamed in fear. From the start of the battle, Fang Yuan was implacably in the lead, suppressing Mo Yao's will and preventing her from doing anything. Earlier, I used Mo Yao's will as a training dummy. I learned many techniques by fighting with her will. Now, I am far beyond Mo Yao's will. I can use many techniques naturally and smoothly. Mo Yao's will has lost her value as a training dummy. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan drew back his will. He placed all his attention on the battlefield killer move in front of him. 8 Doors Labyrinth. 10 days ago, Fang Yuan left to immortal blessed land. He came to Eastern Sea and joined up with Shark Demon and the rest, exploring Yulu blessed land. The tough barrier back then, 8 Doors Labyrinth, was now resolvable by Fang Yuan, who was a wisdom path grandmaster. Back then, Fang Yuan had thought that he would need the wisdom path immortal goo star thought to have a chance of dismantling 8 Doors Labyrinth. But now, he could multitask, deducing the battlefield killer move while secretly sparring with Mo Yao's will. Most importantly, after tens of days had passed in the Blessed Land's time, under Fang Yuan's lead, Shark Demon and the others were finally close to unraveling 8 Doors Labyrinth. We are about to pass 8 Doors Labyrinth. To think that this Xingxiang Zi would suddenly become so fierce. 8 Doors Labyrinth. Is this battlefield killer move the final obstacle in Yulu Blessed Land? The immortals were secretly excited. Boom! With a thunderous sound, 8 Doors Labyrinth was thoroughly unraveled by Fang Yuan. That why Yulu Blessed Land's true appearance appeared before all the immortals. Chapter 917. Unmoving Troops. After dismantling the battlefield killer move 8 Doors Labyrinth, everyone field of vision widened, seeing Yulu Blessed Land's true appearance. Only to see that there were flashing lights in the sky. They were like traces of silk or streams of water. Some were moving slowly, while others were creating dazzling ripples. Red, orange, yellow, green, azure, blue, purple. Each light had a bright color. Dazzling light shined on everyone's faces. Fang Yuan, Shark Demon, and the others did not speak. They looked at this amazing sight as they showed some excitement and amazement. This Yulu Blessed Land was very different from normal blessed lands. Ordinary blessed lands had the sky, ground, vegetation, flowers, birds, worms, and fish. But here, there was nothing. Why Yulu Blessed Land was very unique. It was merely a broad space without any concept of sky or ground. There was no living beings. And there were also no resources that Gu immortals usually accumulated. Maybe this uniqueness is the reason why Yulu Blessed Land can set up battlefield killer moves of countless paths. Fang Yuan had a realization. Normally speaking, there were huge conflicts between battlefield killer moves and blessed lands or grotto heavens. Few Gu immortals were capable of setting up battlefield killer moves in their blessed lands or grotto heavens, because battlefield killer moves used Gu worms to engrave Dao marks and temporarily create a battlefield. Meanwhile, grotto heavens and blessed lands were made of Dao marks. Because the Dao marks varied, they conflicted. When Langya Blessed Land was attacked by Qin by Sheng and the others, Langya Land Spirit did not use a battlefield killer move to resist them. That was because within the Blessed Land, establishing a battlefield killer move was detrimental to oneself. But Yulu Blessed Land went against this common sense of the cultivation world. In Fang Yuan's case, when he attacked Yulu Blessed Land, he had encountered 3 battlefield killer moves: Freezing Rain Frozen Earth, Fighting Soul Battlefield, and 8 Doors Labyrinth. These 3 were evidently immortal killer moves from different paths. They would not normally gather in the hands of a single Gu immortal and become used in their immortal aperture. But within Yulu Blessed Land, not only were these 3 used, they did not clash with the Blessed Land at all. In fact, they seemed to complement each other in a way. Fairy Yulu was a disciple of Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable. It is not strange that her immortal aperture blessed land is like this. Subai Man looked as she let out a deep breath, saying this. Even though there are fewer resources here, if we can learn Fairy Yulu's methods and use it in our own immortal apertures, we would be able to use battlefield killer moves in it. That would be a huge gain. Tai Bai Yunsheng's eyes flashed with brilliance to AT this time. A Gu immortal who went with them pointed at a direction as he shouted. Quickly look, immortal Gu. Everyone quickly looked towards the direction the Gu immortal was pointing. As expected, they saw a Gu worm that had a special appearance. It was long and slim, like a twig. It had numerous thin golden-colored wings, fluttering in the sky. The entire Gu worm looked like a branch of a long golden willow. This Gu worm quickly drilled into a nearby flashing light and vanished. But during this moment it was seen, its immortal Gu aura was undeniably exposed. Everyone's gazes became heated, their breathing became rough, but they were not surprised. There were naturally immortal Gu in Yulu blessed land, that if there were no immortal Gu, how could those battlefield killer moves earlier be constructed? Even though Yulu blessed land did not have an accumulation of resources, with so many battlefield killer moves, it had to have a good number of immortal Gu. Shark Demon raised his head and laughed, breaking the silence. He was overjoyed. Even though the main gains had to be given to Zombie Alliance, he was the person who took down the blessed land. He would gain the biggest reward of at least 1 or 2 immortal Gu. Other than that, by succeeding in taking down Yulu blessed land, he would also receive a huge sum of contribution points from Zombie Alliance. If Shark Demon could find an immortal Gu that suited him, he would definitely take it for himself. This was the benefit of being the person in charge, that if he found any mystical immortal Gu that could help him and his wife revive and get rid of the zombie status, that would be best. Reviving from being a zombie and becoming human. Not only was Fang Yuan working towards it, Shark Demon and Subai Man were doing the same. Seeing Shark Demon laugh, everyone started congratulating him. Subai Man smiled more subtly. Shark Demon and Subai Man had put in huge investment into the mission of invading Yulu blessed land. They had almost used up their savings. On the surface, it could not be noticed, but Shark Demon and Subai Man were facing immense pressure. Right now, their investment was finally bearing fruit. As long as they obtained a rank 7 immortal Gu, all of their investments would be essentially paid off. Shark Demon and Subai Man were joyous. The weights on their minds had been removed. Once Yulu blessed land is captured, everyone here will be compensated according to the contributions you have made. You will not be shortchanged. Shark Demon smiled as he spoke seriously. Everyone nodded. They stepped back and asked Shark Demon and Subai Man to go ahead. With immense benefits in front of them, some Gu immortals might become rash. Shark Demon's words were both an assurance and threat. Everyone could understand his underlying meaning. All right, everyone can wait and see. Shark Demon did not refuse. He struck, he willed, and turned into a flash of light. With a swooshing sound, he tore through space and shot out. The direction was towards the golden willow branch-like immortal Gu earlier. Everyone saw Shark Demon rapidly approaching the immortal Gu, but suddenly, there were ripples in space as Shark Demon vanished. The next moment, he appeared beside everyone with a shocked expression. What happened? Subai Man asked in suspicion. Shark Demon shook his head. He said in an uncertain tone, "It seems to be another battlefield killer move." Next, everyone tried, but they could not move out. It attested to Shark Demon's guess. This is a space path battlefield killer move. Even though it has no offensive power, it is definitely more profound than the previous battlefield killer moves. Did all of you notice? Every time we get transported back, we would be in our original spots. Our positions would not change at all. Such an ability. This has to be the legendary unmoving troops. The Gu immortals discussed and eventually came to a consensus. Battlefield killer move, unmoving troops. This was the final battlefield killer move. It obstructed everyone. This battlefield killer move had a huge origin. It was created by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable personally. The work of an Immortal Venerable was truly profound. Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable had a mild and kind temperament. He was vast different from the other 9 Gu Immortal Venerables. He was merciful. He did not like killing since he was young. He often subdued people with kindness, taking down enemies without fighting. Battlefield killer move, unmoving troops. Once someone entered this formation with any intent to battle, malicious thoughts, or lust, they would be unable to progress at all, unable to move. In the past, before Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable became a rank 9 Gu Immortal, he used this move to subdue a famous rank 7 Sound Path Gu Immortal, Gao Ming. In that battle, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable did not move. He only used the battlefield Immortal Killer move, unmoving troops. No matter what methods Gao Ming used, he exerted all of his strength and did not even manage to get one step closer to Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable. This battle made the arrogant Gao Ming lose his temper. He then followed Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, becoming his guard henceforth. Since this has to do with wills and thoughts, why don't we shut our minds and temporarily stop thinking? Fang Yuan said that it was not hard to achieve this, that GU Immortals mostly had some wisdom path techniques. Fang Yuan was currently disguised as Xing Xiangzi. He was also partly a wisdom path Gu Immortal, but everyone's attempts ended in failure. Some Gu Immortals did not have outstanding wisdom path techniques. During this process of moving forward, their desires and thoughts were stirred up, breaking their thoughtless state. Only certain Gu Immortals, including Fang Yuan, could achieve a state of having no thoughts. But the problem came after that. Without any thoughts, how could one capture any Gu worms? The body's movement was decided by the thoughts that were generated in the mind. Without these thoughts, the body would stay still on the ground. In this situation, there was no need for the battlefield killer move. The Gu Immortals themselves could not move. Sigh. No wonder back then, Gu Immortal Gao Ming became dejected and willingly submitted to the rank 7 Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, becoming his guard. To get through this round, it is hard. The worst part is, Yulu Blessed Land is right in front of us. Undeniably, this is the final obstacle, but we can only watch here and look on, unable to gain anything. Maybe this arrangement was the intention of Fairy Yulu. She purposely let us see hope, luring out our thoughts and desires. It increases the difficulty of taking down this battlefield killer move. If we really cannot succeed, we will have to retreat and seek reinforcements. Subai Man suggested as she frowned. Shark Demon looked ahead, becoming silent. Earlier, he had invited a wisdom path Gu Immortal over, but he lost an immortal Gu to her. Thus he did not at all like this idea, the crucial moment. Only a person on their own side could be trusted. Shark Demon looked at Fang Yuan. Now that Fang Yuan was part of Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance, he was one of them. Shark Demon asked, Xing Xiangzi, do you have any means? If you do, use them. Don't worry, your compensation will not be small. Fang Yuan smiled lightly. To unravel this battlefield killer move, it can be said to be both easy and difficult. Oh, what do you mean? Fang Yuan looked around. Seeing that he had attracted all of their attentions, he said slowly, Everyone, do not be scared due to the reputation of unmoving troops. Back then, Gao Ming lost because the battlefield killer move was controlled by Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable. Right now, we are facing an unmanned battlefield killer move. It is far easier to deal with this one. That makes sense. Indeed, with a Gu Immortal controlling the battlefield killer move, it could transform and replenish continuously. But a battlefield killer move without any Gu Immortals controlling it is very inflexible. Everyone saw hope and felt joy after hearing Fang Yuan's words. But next, Fang Yuan's words threw them into dejection again. Attacking an unmanned battlefield killer move is relatively simpler. But to me, it is extremely difficult to unravel this current one. There is almost no hope of success. Everyone's expressions crumbled. They cast somewhat unkind gazes towards Fang Yuan. One of the Gu Immortals said agitatedly, Xing Xiangzi, you talked a lot of crap. Just tell us if you're useless. Speaking like this, are you trying to toy with us? Fang Yuan laughed as he looked at Shark Demon. Shark Demon showed no expression on his face, but it was obvious that his mood was currently terrible. Fang Yuan suddenly stopped his smiling expression. He bowed to Shark Demon as he said solemnly, Why would I dare to toy with everyone? I am truly restricted by a lack of resources. If I can refine a wisdom path Immortal Gu, I would have great confidence in unraveling the battlefield killer move unmoving troops for sure. Chapter 918, Blazing Heaven Demonis. Shark Sea, Underwater Palace. Delicious delicacies filled the table, the aroma of wine pervaded the air, and the lantern lights shined brightly in the banquet. Shark, Demon, and Subai Man sat on the main seats, treating two Gu immortals in the hall with utmost cordiality. These two Gu immortals were none other than Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng. After they ran into a barrier in Yulu blessed land, and knew that staying longer would be of no use, Shark, Demon, and the group sensibly retreated. Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng had originally intended to leave, but were invited over by Shark, Demon, and Subai Man. This was already the third time Fang Yuan had participated in Shark Demon's shark fishing banquet. Gulping down the fine wine, Shark Demon put down the wine cup and looked at Fang Yuan, suddenly asking, "Xingxiangzi, how much assurance do you truly have in unraveling unmoving troops?" Fang Yuan thought inwardly. The time has come. Shark Demon and Subai Man had been talking about all sorts of irrelevant matters, but he just kept quiet and did not speak about the matter first. Shark Demon finally could not hold it in and spoke about the subject. Fang Yuan immediately replied, "Lord Shark Demon, you are also aware of how things stand for me. The wisdom path inheritance I inherited is complete. Moreover, recently, I have comprehended many mysteries. Thus I could unravel the battlefield killer move 8 Doors Labyrinth. But up until now, I have been suffering from having no relevant wisdom path immortal Gu. Thus my methods are limited and my capabilities insufficient. If I could refine this wisdom path immortal Gu, I can definitely unravel unmanned, unmoving troops." Tai Bai Yunsheng, who was beside him, also backed him up. "I have known Brother Xingxiang for many years. I know he is not someone who exaggerates or speaks empty words. Since he says he has confidence, then he definitely has confidence. I can guarantee this." Subai Man, however, was not satisfied with Tai Bai Yunsheng's guarantee. As she looked at the person in concern, Fang Yuan, and pursued, "If you have the wisdom path immortal Gu, can you guarantee you can unravel that battlefield killer move?" Fang Yuan did not answer directly, instead taking a step back in order to advance further, intentionally giving a bitter smile. "How can I have complete certainty? This matter concerns Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, one of the 10 supreme experts in history. If something unexpected happens, it would be normal. But for now at least, based on the part that is shown, I am quite confident of unraveling it if I can have the help of the wisdom path immortal Gu." Shark Demon and Subai Man glanced at each other. Although they were angry at Fang Yuan's slippery words, they were moved as well. There was no other way. They had suffered much hardship beforehand. Previously, they had spent a considerable price to invite other wisdom path Gu immortals to help, but the outcome was emphatically not ideal. They even lost an immortal Gu in the END.AS for Xingxiangzi. They had cooperated with him many times now and knew many details about him. More importantly, Fang Yuan had joined Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance and could be considered a person on the same side. Thus, Shark Demon and Subai Man's first choice was Fang Yuan. However, financing Fang Yuan to refine immortal Gu was difficult as well. The cost of refining immortal Gu was rather high, while the success rate was too low, and depended on luck that if luck was good, one could refine successfully in the first attempt. Then everything would be a joyous matter. But this situation was very rare that if luck was not good, there was a possibility of always failing. At that time, even if there was a huge pile of immortal essence stones, they would just be wasted with no gains. This was also the reason most Gu immortals would rather capture wild immortal Gu than to think of refining immortal Gu themselves. Refining immortal Gu was difficult, in the present cultivation world. Many rank 6 Gu immortals did not have even one immortal Gu on them, and could only use mortal Gu to hold their own. Fang Yuan was a special case. He had a lot of immortal Gu, so many that were they to be exposed, perhaps people would not believe it. However, he had reborn, had fortuitous encounters, taken deadly risks, and faced all sorts of harsh conditions to obtain these immortal Gu. Shark Demon and Subai Man did not know these details, but they were aware of Fang Yuan's intention. Fang Yuan wanted to rely on them to lend him a hand in refining wisdom path immortal Gu. As far as they were concerned, Fang Yuan could not afford this expenditure and had no accumulations to refine immortal Gu. Thus he was making them help him. If it were any other time, Shark Demon would definitely have scoffed and not even given a thought. What a joke. How silly would he be to help others refine immortal goo? However, in the current situation, Shark Demon had to request Fang Yuan's help in unraveling the battlefield killer move. Right now, Shark Demon had one question on his mind. Was Xing Xiangzi fooling them? Was he using this chance to blackmail them? When even without immortal goo, he had the ability to unravel this battlefield killer move. Fang Yuan saw Shark Demon's hesitation, but did not speak and only drank the wine. This moment and time was just perfect. Fang Yuan had confidence. Previously, the timing was wrong. Now blessed land was laid out in front of them like a juicy piece of meat dangling in the air, tempting Shark Demon. This had indeed done a great favor to Fang Yuan as long as they completely dismantled unmoving troops. Shark Demon and Subai Man would gain lots of benefits, obtaining hundreds of times what they had invested. Naturally, with Fang Yuan's personality, he had already thought of devouring these alone and backstabbing them. However, his strength was not enough to beat even just Shark Demon. Shark Demon was a veteran rank 7 immortal zombie. Although Fang Yuan had rank 7 battle strength, it was not outstanding among rank 7 Goo immortals. But this was already quite good. After all, Fang Yuan's cultivation was only at the bottom tier of rank 6. Fang Yuan could not defeat even Shark Demon, let alone when there were Subai Man and other Goo immortals as well. As for Zombie Alliance behind Shark Demon, there was even less need to mention them. For a colossal force like Zombie Alliance, Fang Yuan was just a rat running across the street. Fang Yuan was rational and calm and knew his own limits. He had observed and evaluated the situation before he joined this expedition, in order to get a share of the profits and extract the greatest benefits for himself. When Fang Yuan drank the third cup of wine, Shark Demon and Subai Man had already finished their secret discussion. They quickly reached a consensus. They decided to aid Fang Yuan financially and help him refine Wisdom Path Immortal Goo. Even if it was Fang Yuan blackmailing them, they had no choice but to settle for it. They did not even force Fang Yuan to make an oath or use goo worms to probe out his true thoughts. Shark Demon and Subai Man were, naturally, not foolish. Besides urgently needing Fang Yuan's help for this final important hurdle, they also had another intention. That was to improve their relationship with Fang Yuan. After all, the wisdom path potential Fang Yuan showed was already worth it for them to make an investment. Wisdom path Goo immortals were rare. Having a friendship with a wisdom path Goo immortal was very precious. However, just as Shark Demon was about to reply, there was suddenly a change. The immense sea shook intensely, thunder crackled, and countless chaotic sea currents pressed on towards the underwater palace. Immediately, a piercing fire pillar shot down from outside the sea, directly striking at Shark Demon's underwater palace with shocking might. Rumble! A loud sound reverberated through the area, and the magnificent underwater palace shined with the radiance of a defensive goo formation. However, the light could not last for even a breath of time before it was torn apart by the fire-pillared. In an instant, stones and bricks broke and flew in all directions. The palace turned into ruins. The fire kept on burning and was actually not extinguished by the sea. The extremely pleasant banquet had now thoroughly ended, as the endless sea water surged in, sweeping away all the furnishings and the delicacies of the banquet, and soon submerged Fang Yuan and the group. However, for were all Goo immortals, and had no problem staying in this depth of the sea. Shark Demon was an immortal zombie, and did not need to breathe in the sea. He was dazed for a moment before suddenly standing up and looked at the sky above the sea, shouting in fury. Such audacity! Who dares to attack my sea area? Subai Man also stood beside Shark Demon, similarly gazing up, her expression pale. Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng glanced at each other, puzzled. Shark Demon had outstanding strength, and with Subai Man accompanying him everywhere, they could advance or retreat easily. Such a duo was already extremely dangerous to provoke. More importantly, there was also Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance behind them. Eastern Sea Zombie Alliance was the main headquarters of the zombie alliances over the 5 regions. They were a colossal force, a level stronger than even super forces, and could even be called an overlord of the Eastern Sea cultivation world. Who is it that came to attack zombie alliance's Shark Demon? Shark Demon had just shouted, when a voice resounded in everyone's ears. This is only a small appetizer. I am not only going to destroy your palace, I will also beat you lowlife lovers till you can't even stand up. The voice was extremely arrogant and domineering. Moreover, from the voice, it was a female immortal. It's her? Subai Man said. Her eyes widened, showing a clearly surprised and grave look that a bright red figure descended from the sky, pressing down into the sea and towards the four on the seabed. Fang Yuan gazed above at this female immortal and saw she was descending extremely fast. Her whole body was blazing with fire which swayed in the water. As for her true appearance, it was hidden in the flames and could not be seen clearly. This surging aura, a rank 8 Gu immortal. Tai Bai Yunsheng blurted. Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes, adding a sentence inwardly. More precisely, this is a rank 8 female immortal zombie. Immediately, Shark Demon shouted out the female immortal's identity. Blazing Heaven Demoness, have you gone crazy? You dare to attack a person belonging to Zombie Alliance like you? You are challenging Zombie Alliance's authority and will definitely be severely punished. Blazing Heaven Demoness. Fang Yuan's eyes brightened as he recalled that he had heard this name before. This name was a famous one, Blazing Heaven Demoness, a rank 8 Gu immortal. She was from Northern Plains, the leader of the Northern Plains Zombie Alliance branch. After Fang Yuan had infiltrated into Northern Plains Zombie Alliance, he had heard other members mention and talk of her many times, praising and revering Blazing Heaven Demoness' formidable strength and domineering style. Fang Yuan had not expected to see such a person in this way. Blazing Heaven Demoness, who was covered in fire, laughed loudly. Shark Demon, don't talk nonsense. The matter between us is an internal conflict between Zombie Alliance members. Speak. What are you trying to do by stealing my immortal material? Subai Man was just about to question Blazing Heaven Demoness, but had not expected Blazing Heaven Demoness to blame them first. Shark Demon shouted. Nonsense. When did I steal your immortal material? If you want to frame me, go find a better reason. These last days, I have only been paying attention to doing the assignment of Zombie Alliance, invading you blessed land. When would I have the time to steal your immortal material? You were just trying to start a quarrel. Blazing Heaven Demoness, however, was not flustered, instead confidently laughing. Ha ha, I came here with a witness. Shark Demon, you won't be able to deny it. Shark Demon was so furious that he laughed. Good, good, let me see what witness you have. Chapter 919, Angry Bird. In the sea and under the water, the two sides were in a stalemate. It was a tense atmosphere. A moment ago, Fang Yuan was still enjoying a banquet with Shark Demon and his wife, having a joyous time. But at the next moment, they were attacked. The entire underwater palace of Shark Demon was turned into rubble. As the saying goes, while a person stays in their house, calamity descends from the sky. Fang Yuan looked at Tai Bai Yunsheng as the latter transmitted. Blazing Heaven Demoness is a rank 8 great expert. She is not someone we can fight. Fang Yuan nodded inconspicuously. He understood Tai Bai Yunsheng's intention. That was to sit and watch to a Tgu immortal level. The higher the rank, the greater the difference between them. Even if Fang Yuan, Tai Bai Yunsheng, Shark Demon, and Subai Man collaborated and worked together sincerely, they might not be able to hold off Blazing Heaven Demoness over multiple rounds even if they disregarded the cost. This was an absolutely powerful foe. Normally, only rank 8 Gu immortals could fight. Other rank 8s, Shark Demon also knew this. Thus, even though his house was destroyed, he did not dare to fight Blazing Heaven Demoness head-on. With Shark Demon's temper, if his house was destroyed, he would burst into anger and attack. But because it was Blazing Heaven Demoness, a rank 8 Gu immortal, he had to control himself. Even if he was angry, he knew he was not a match for the rank 8 Gu immortal. The best way to solve this problem now was to use Zombie Alliance's rules and negotiate with her. Blazing Heaven Demoness had gone against the rules of Zombie Alliance. She was finding problems with an ally. How could that be allowed? Such blatant attacks are simply giving no regard to Zombie Alliance. But Blazing Heaven Demoness smiled confidently, like she had already won. Shark Demon, isn't it simple to justify my actions? Bodan, come out. Blazing Heaven Demoness called that Gu immortal Bodan stood out from behind Blazing Heaven Demoness. He lowered his head. His expression was bitter as he bowed deeply. Lord Shark Demon, Lady Subai Man, I was forced against my will. Seeing Bo Dan, Shark Demon's expression turned dark. His wife Subai Man also snorted coldly. She had an idea of what Blazing Heaven Demoness' plan was to as expected. At the next moment, everyone heard Blazing Heaven Demoness scream. Shark Demon, Subai Man, the two of you instructed Bo Dan to steal my rank 8 immortal material, medicine ice. I was in close cultivation and was careless. The two of you actually succeeded. Today, I am here to seek justice. As it turned out, Bo Dan was quite pitiful. Even though he was alive, he had no choice but to join Zombie Alliance. Just earlier, his private sea area was taken over by Blazing Heaven Demoness using brute force. Fang Yuan entered Eastern Sea using Xing Xiangzi's identity and joined Shark Demon in the invasion of Yulu Blessed Land. Bo Dan was a half-baked wisdom path Gu immortal. His skill was lacking. He was schemed against by Fang Yuan to protect his status. He had to bribe Subai Man and give her the rank 8 immortal material medicine ice so that Subai Man would defend him. But Bo Dan was still too incapable. He and Shark Demon slowly became estranged. Bo Dan was left with no choice. He attempted to use Zombie Alliance to exert pressure on Blazing Heaven Demoness so that she would return him his private sea area. However, he was only rank 6, while Blazing Heaven Demoness was a rank 8 great expert. As the leader of Northern Plains Zombie Alliance, she was a higher-up. Even though Zombie Alliance received Bo Dan's plea and complaint, they dragged out his request and tried to stall for time. How could they offend the powerful Blazing Heaven Demoness for this mere Bo Dan? Thus, Bo Dan's situation became increasingly pathetic, until Fang Yuan unraveled the battlefield killer move 8 Doors Labyrinth and obtained a huge breakthrough in the invasion of Yulu Blessed Land. Ever since Shark Demon invaded Yulu Blessed Land, he had been receiving heavy attention, seeing that Yulu Blessed Land was about to be taken down. With such great benefits, Blazing Heaven Demoness greed was stirred. Even though Blazing Heaven Demoness had incredible cultivation level, she was superior to them and had great strength, but she could not forcefully take over the fruits of the labor of Yulu Blessed Land. After all, this was Eastern Sea, not Northern Plains. This was the Zombie Alliance headquarters, not her Northern Plains branch. Since she was a member of Zombie Alliance, she could not break the rules. Thus, she sent Bo Dan a message, lying that she would return him his private sea area and would compensate him. Bo Dan had no long-term accommodation. As he was wandering about, he received this news and was overjoyed that in the end, when he returned, he was forced by Blazing Heaven Demoness to frame Shark Demon and Subai Man. Bo Dan did not dare to offend Blazing Heaven Demoness, but he also did not dare to offend Shark Demon and Subai Man. He realized that he had fallen into a trap and was in deep regret, but now that he was in Blazing Heaven Demoness' hands, he had no choice left. In the end, he was captured by Blazing Heaven Demoness and was brought to attack Shark Demon's underwater palace. Shark Demon's gaze moved from Bo Dan to Blazing Heaven Demoness. He knew that Bo Dan was just a minor character. He was not crucial. This accusation would not hold up against any investigations. Shark Demon held in the anger inside him as he sneered at Blazing Heaven Demoness. Blazing Heaven Demoness, just say it if you want to pick the fruits. Why must you implicate an innocent person? Subai Man followed. Lady Blazing Heaven Demoness, you are a rank 8 great expert. Aren't your current actions too ugly? Blazing Heaven Demoness laughed loudly. She naturally knew that this excuse was weak, but that did not matter. She just needed a cover, just an excuse would do. This excuse was only used to respond to Zombie Alliance's headquarters. It could not force Shark Demon and his wife to obey her. To force Shark Demon and his wife. What was needed was not an excuse, but strength. Thus, she came here personally with overflowing battle intent. She was here to find trouble with them. Huh? Blazing Heaven. Demoness' laughter stopped. Her eyes shined with brilliance as she looked at the sea, suddenly saying, 3 moves. What? Subai Man was shocked. I will finish you off in 3 moves. If you can block 3 moves of mine, I will pretend I was never here. Blazing Heaven Demoness said sternly. Shark Demon and Subai Man looked at each other. The former let out a breath of turbid air and agreed. All right, let the 4 of us experience your power. Blazing Heaven Demoness 3 moves agreement made Shark Demon see some hope. Of course, the most important reason was that they were helpless in this situation. He had to agree regardless of his wishes. Weaklings had no choices in the first place. Tai Bai Yunsheng frowned slightly. He did not want to take action, but Shark Demon was crafty. With a few words, he directly included Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng on his side. Against Blazing Heaven Demoness, Fang Yuan was calm, showing no change of expression to Su Bai Man transmitted to them. If we can survive this ordeal, both of us will owe you a favor. As for compensation, we will pay you a sum that is sure to satisfy you. We hope that both of you can support us. Don't worry, we will do our best. Fang Yuan transmitted and returned in his mind. He had made his decision. He would just pretend to exert effort. Only an idiot would help in such a dangerous and pointless request. Su Bai Man nodded at Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng, showing a hint of gratitude in her gaze. I am a wisdom path Gu immortal, while Tai Bai Yunsheng is skilled at healing. Even if we perform badly later, we have sufficient reasons to justify ourselves. Fang Yuan stood out, standing with Shark Demon and Su Bai Man, facing Blazing Heaven Demoness who was at the surface of the sea. Tai Bai Yunsheng sighed internally, standing beside Fang Yuan. Blazing Heaven Demoness laughed lightly. With a look of nonchalance, she stretched out her hand, opening her 5 fingers. Suddenly, with a soft sound, an orange-yellow flame appeared in her hand. Blazing Heaven Demoness moved her fingers, rubbing the orange-yellow flame. This lump of flame was extraordinary. It was very elastic. Blazing Heaven Demoness squeezed it as if she was squeezing a meatball. After a few breaths of time, the orange-yellow flame gradually formed into the appearance of a bird. Blazing Heaven Demoness opened her hand as the fire bird jumped up from her palm, flapping its wings and chirping, happily fluttering around Blazing Heaven Demoness. Blazing Heaven Demoness toyed around with the firebird, not attacking, as if she had forgotten the agreement of 3 moves. But be it Shark Demon, Su Bai Man, Fang Yuan, or Tai Bai Yunsheng, they showed extremely ugly expressions. This firebird had a cute appearance, but it was terrifyingly powerful in the eyes of the 4 Gu immortals. Once released, it would unleash shocking might. Not just this underwater palace, the rest of this shark sea. Countless living beings in a huge surrounding area of water might be exterminated by a single blow. A rank 8 Gu immortal cannot be blocked by rank 6 or rank 7 Gu immortals. The agreement of 3 moves was just a joke. Just this one attack, Shark Demon and the rest could not defend against it. Lady Blazing Heaven Demoness, may I know what is the name of this move? Shark Demon asked after a while. He spoke in a dispirited tone with a hint of hoarseness in his voice. Blazing Heaven Demoness smiled lightly. Hundreds of years ago, I was careless when cultivating and flames of anger were burning my heart. I almost lost my life. When I was recovering, I had an inspiration and created this rank 8 level killer move. I named it Angry Bird. Angry Bird. This joke-like name made Shark Demon feel some shock and also bitterness. Undeniably, Blazing Heaven Demoness was doing this on purpose. She wanted to display overwhelming strength to force Shark Demon to surrender. This was a very crude method, but Blazing Heaven Demoness was too overbearing. She was straightforward and had incredible cultivation level. With her battle strength, it was an effective plan. With just one move, Fang Yuan and the others had given up. Only Shark Demon was still hanging. He said to the rest of them, "You 3, retreat first. I will handle this move." Before Fang Yuan and the others replied, Shark Demon took one step forward and said, "Angry Bird, it is a good move. Lady Blazing Heaven Demoness, please attack." Blazing Heaven Demoness was shocked. She squinted as she asked in suspicion, "Are you sure you want to face this move? Let's retreat." Su Bai Man's eyes shined with brilliance. She spoke to Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng. Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng were surprised. Blazing Heaven Demoness move was incredibly powerful. There was no hope even if the 4 of them collaborated. Right now, Shark Demon was facing her alone. Not only did he not want other people's help, even his wife Su Bai Man had such confidence in him. What was he relying on? All right, I want to see what is giving you courage. Blazing Heaven Demoness no longer hesitated. At her will, the angry bird tore through the water, shooting towards Shark Demon. But when it got to the bottom of the sea, a strong aura burst out. contesting blazing heaven demonis equally. Shark Demon showed a smiling expression, like his plan had succeeded. Far away, Subai Man let out a sigh of relief. She explained to Fang Yuan and Tai by Yunsheng. Back then, we chose this location to build our underwater palace. We naturally had our reasons. Chapter 920. Immemorial Desolate Beast, One-Finger Flow Shark. A surging, vast aura. Everyone's gazes were attracted to it. The sea became turbulent and tides started to rise. Countless undercurrents formed in the seabed and moved rapidly, while intertwined together, like countless giant dragons or pythons. Undercurrent vortex started forming and continued to increase in numbers sharply. Soon, the dangerous vortexes numbered to thousands, filling this sea area. This is? Tai Bai Yunsheng was startled. Immemorial desolate beast. Fang Yuan's eyes brightened. Ordinary wild beasts, 100 beast kings, 1,000 beast kings, myriad beast kings, beast emperors, desolate beasts, ancient desolate beasts, immemorial desolate beasts among them. Immemorial desolate beasts were powerful existences comparable to rank 8 Gu immortals. Shark Demon and Subai Man stared fixedly at the center of this aura. There, the form of the immemorial desolate beast was gradually revealed. The state of the enemy was unknown. Blazing heaven. Demonis also had no choice but to stop her attacks for the moment. Recalling the small fire bird to her side, the sea tides rose and fell along with the rough waves. The surface of the sea became dangerous while the undercurrents flowed chaotically inside the sea. Several breaths later, the mysterious immemorial desolate beast's true appearance was completely revealed. This formidable immemorial desolate beast was unimaginably small, and dainty-looking deity was so small that it was actually the size of an adult's finger. This was a shark, an extremely exquisite and cute shark, the size of an adult's index finger. Its whole body was shining with silver light. This light was not dazzling but mild, like a silk cloth that gently covered the small shark. Such a formidable aura. Yet its body is like this. Tai Bai Yunsheng sighed, having a strange expression at this sight. Blazing heaven demonis, however, showed a trace of seriousness. The small shark ignored Fang Yuan, Shark Demon, and the rest behind it. From the start, its two eyes had been gazing at blazing heaven demonis, revealing intense enmity. Shark Demon let out a breath and transmitted his voice to Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng. My plan has fortunately succeeded. Don't underestimate this small shark. It is a one-finger flow shark. This is a one-finger flow shark. Tai Bai Yunsheng looked surprised and shocked. Ordinary Gu immortals would not know of the one-finger flow shark, but as a time path Gu immortal, Tai Bai Yunsheng had long since heard of its name. In fact, almost all time path Gu immortals knew a mnemonic. One-finger flow shark, an instance of brilliance. Flowing water and clear voice. Heaven is impartial. It was no exaggeration to say that the one-finger flow shark was known widely because of the mnemonic. It was a rank 8 time path desolate beast, bearing extremely large amounts of time path Dao marks. Thus it could swim in the river of time with its physical body. The one-finger flow shark normally hides in the river of time and does not reveal itself. The two of us also found its tracks by chance. Later, we intentionally requested for this sea area from Zombie Alliance and built this shark sea. Shark Demon continued to explain to Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng. Blazing heaven demonis suddenly chuckled. So it was like that. No wonder you two stopped at no expense to exchange for an immortal killer move of the enslavement path Grandmaster. 180 slaves from Zombie Alliance. Lower controls higher. It was to use this enslavement path killer move to subdue this one-finger flow shark, right? Enslavement path had always been about enslaving higher beasts to control lower. For instance, back when Fang Yuan was in Northern Plains, using Wolf King Chang Shan Yin's identity to participate in the contest of the Imperial Court, he had used myriad beast kings, 1,000 beast kings, and so on to indirectly control the whole wolf army. After all, one had a limited soul foundation. Enslavement path Gu masters could not directly control all the wild beasts. The larger the scale of the beast group, the weaker the controlling power of the enslavement path Gu master would be. The more their soul would have to endure and the less capable they would be in displaying skillful control. But this was not absolute. You are the essence of heaven and earth. Man is the spirit of all living beings. The wisdom of humans was undoubtedly at the top of all living beings in the long history of Gu cultivation. There once appeared an enslavement path grandmaster. He had a rough childhood, being born as a slave, and thus had very meager status. He used all the opportunities he obtained and took risks, continuously maturing and finally climbing to the pinnacle. He was 180 slaves. A generation's genius. Normal enslavement path methods were to use those of higher status to rule over lower status. But he did the opposite, using beasts of lower status to rule over those of a higher status. This was not without reason. For instance, an emperor was the ruler, wielding absolute power, sitting high above. But sometimes, when the people are united and of one mind, the emperor would also be trapped by the people's will and would be forced to do things against their own will. Facing blazing heaven demonist speculation, Shark Demon nodded and frankly admitted, "You guessed right. That is the case. I have been constantly managing the shark groups in this sea area. It is to use these shark groups to subdue the one-finger flow shark. Unfortunately, my enslavement path attainment is insufficient, and I also don't have the immortal Gu forming the killer move lower controls higher. Thus, I haven't succeeded until now." Hearing this, Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng could not help but glance at each other. Shark Demon had a huge target. His ambition truly was not small. He was only a rank 7 immortal zombie, but wanted to subdue an immemorial desolate beast. Those able to advance to Gu immortals indeed were not simple. If he truly succeeded and had such an aid, Shark Demon could be considered half a rank 8 Gu immortal. His status would immediately rise, with fame and benefits flowing in rapidly. Currently, he might not have succeeded, but he had made some achievements at the least. After this one-finger flow shark appeared, it had not cared about Shark Demon's side, and instead directed all its hatred and anger to blazing heaven demoness. Shark Demon continued, "Moreover, this one-finger flow shark is not only an immemorial desolate beast, it also contains several time path immortal Gu." The intention of his words was to make blazing heaven demoness aware of what she was dealing with and make her retreat. This was not revealing information. The one-finger flow shark's body was overflowing with the aura of immortal Gu without being concealed. Even Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng could clearly feel it, let alone the rank 8 immortal zombie blazing heaven demoness. It is rumored that the river of time is home to countless time path Gu worms. The one-finger flow shark can freely move around in the river of time. Thus having immortal Gu is not strange. Tai Bai Yunsheng whispered to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan thought of Red Lotus Demon Venerable's inheritance. He had to move deep into the river of time to obtain Red Lotus Demon Venerable's inheritance. Maybe he could rely on the one-finger flow shark's ability. The one-finger flow shark was extremely rare, and there were probably not many even in the river of time. That Tio put it in other words. This was a major opportunity that could not be sought out and only found through chance. And no wonder Shark Demon and Subai Man stopped at no expense, spending endless time and energy to obtain the one-finger flow shark. Ha ha! Shark Demon's words made blazing heaven demoness laugh loudly. Listening to what you say makes my urge to strike even stronger. Shark Demon, you want to rely on an outside force to make me retreat? To win without fighting? Hee, wishful thinking. The moment she finished speaking, blazing heaven demoness pointed with her finger. The small firebird perched on her shoulders suddenly moved, flying straight towards Shark Demon's direction. It's coming. Shark Demon, Fang Yuan, and the rest felt their hearts chill. Their whole body turned tense as they became extremely vigilant. The firebird seemed harmless, but in truth, its power was vast and extraordinary. However, at this moment, the one-finger flow shark suddenly moved, resembling a silver firefly as it pounced at the firebird. The two were extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, had already collided in the sea. There was no sound, and there was no explosion. The instant they collided, a strange thing occurred. Both sides, which were extremely fast, suddenly stilled. Turning from extreme speed to extreme stillness, at that instant, the one-finger flow shark and the small firebird seemed to have transformed into a painting. Such a transformation gave the spectators a feeling of being too abrupt. Shortly, Fang Yuan and the rest saw the one-finger flow shark slowly move, using its exquisite nose to lightly poke the small firebird. Afterwards, the one-finger flow shark made an extremely elegant motion. Its whole body leaped over the small firebird and continued to swiftly move ahead to eye in the blink of an eye. The stillness ended. The speeds of the one-finger flow shark and the small firebird were restored. However, the former had already moved past the small firebird and was charging towards blazing heaven demonis, while the small firebird was moving towards Shark Demon and the rest of the group. Shark Demon and Subai Man were already extremely alert, and when they saw the small bird nearing them, they held their breaths, preparing to contend with it. Fang Yuan was almost about to pull away and retreat, but right at this moment, the small firebird suddenly flapped its wings and drew an arc as it turned around, chasing after the one-finger flow shark. Such nimbleness! Shark Demon was able to avoid this confrontation, but he was instead pale from shock. This small firebird can move smoothly according to the controller's thoughts. It seems it is not a simple fire path killer move. There are definitely wisdom path methods mixed in it. Fang Yuan analyzed rapidly. That scene just now should be because a certain time path immortal goo in the one-finger flow shark activated. This immortal goo can cause the flow of time in a certain range to become extremely slow. It seemed like the two turned from extreme speed to almost complete stillness, but their speed had actually not changed. Tai Bai Yunsheng quickly said Su Bai Man nodded and added, not only that. When the one-finger flow shark poked the firebird's body, the immortal goo's aura had changed again. It should be the activation of the second time path immortal goo. It is just that its effect is unclear. The moment she finished speaking, the effect showed up. Blazing heaven demoness expression suddenly changed, because the small firebird chasing the one-finger flow shark had suddenly detonated. Boom! Like a crack of thunder resounded over the area. Flames accompanied the surging blast. As it ferociously spread everywhere, in an instant, an immense quantity of sea water evaporated and countless lives were lost that a hemispherical crater formed over the whole sea. When the firebird had detonated, it had already flown out of the sea, but the bottom of the crater had unexpectedly touched the soil of the seabed. Next, the surrounding seawater surged in to fill the gap. Swoosh! Tides surged, and huge waves stirred up in the sea. The soil on the seabed rolled and mixed in with the water, making visibility extremely poor. Fang Yuan and the rest were in a rather miserable state. They had no choice but to fly out of the sea and float in the sky as they continued to watch the battle. They saw the one-finger flow shark shoot directly towards Blazing Heaven Demonis' face like a silver arrow. Blazing Heaven Demonis' expression became more focused. How would she dare to take it head-on? Man is the spirit of all living beings. This phrase was not false, but when strength, recovery, speed, and so on were compared, humans were not outstanding among the endless living beings. Even after becoming goo immortals, they usually could not compare to desolate beasts. The one-finger flow shark was small, but it was an immemorial desolate beast. Its small body concealed incomparably frightening brute strength.